It turned him on to humiliate me for years. My body was stolen over the years. I want him to acknowledge what he has done. That is Colleen Fernandes, a woman who has been one of the most recognized television presenters in Germany for over 2 decades, describing what her husband allegedly did to her for 15 years while they shared a home, raised a family, and smiled for cameras together. And when I tell you the details of this story are unlike anything I have ever covered on this channel, I mean it. Because this is not a story about a celebrity cheating. This is not a story about a messy divorce. This is a story about a man who allegedly created dozens of fake online identities to distribute deepfake pornography of his own wife, conducted phone sex with strangers using AI-cloned versions of her voice, and then sat next to her on the couch and comforted her while she cried about being stalked online, knowing the entire time that he was the one doing it. And the internet is now calling him Germany's digital Pellicott. So let me walk you through exactly who these people are and what happened, because unless you follow German media closely, you may not know these names. Christian Ulmen is 50 years old, and he is a titan of the German entertainment industry. He rose to fame in the early 2000s as an MTV presenter and became one of the most beloved comedic actors in the country. He is the creator and star of Jerks, a cringe comedy series that has been compared to Curb Your Enthusiasm, where he plays exaggerated versions of himself getting into increasingly awkward and boundary-crossing situations. His entire public persona is built around being the self-aware, harmless, funny guy who pushes social limits for laughs. That is important. Remember that. Colleen Fernandes is 44 years old and has been in the German public eye for over 20 years. She is a television presenter, actress, and author who has built a reputation as a smart, composed, professional woman. She and Ulmen met in August 2010. They married on June 22, 2011, in what was covered as one of Germany's most high-profile celebrity weddings. To the outside world, they were a power couple, the funny guy and the beautiful, intelligent woman, the German entertainment dream team. And then, in March 2026, Der Spiegel, one of the most respected investigative news outlets in Europe, published an exposé that shattered everything the public thought they knew about Christian Ulmen. The allegations are as follows. According to Colleen Fernandes and reporting by Der Spiegel, for approximately 10 to 15 years, Ulmen operated what can only be described as a shadow life. He allegedly created approximately 30 fake online profiles in her name across multiple platforms. Using these profiles, he allegedly distributed pornographic deepfakes of Colleen, digitally generated images and videos that placed her face onto explicit content. He allegedly engaged in sexual conversations with men while impersonating her online. And in what might be the most disturbing detail of all, he allegedly used AI voice cloning technology to conduct phone sex with strangers using a synthetic version of his wife's voice. Strangers who believed they were speaking to Colleen Fernandes were allegedly speaking to a machine that her husband had programmed. The story of how this was discovered makes it even more horrifying, because for years, Colleen knew she was being targeted. She knew that someone was creating fake profiles in her name. She knew that deepfake pornography of her was circulating online. She spent years and thousands of euros hiring lawyers to track down and remove the content. She even filmed a documentary in 2024 about her experience with digital violence, a documentary about being stalked and harassed by an unknown online predator. And the whole time, the predator was allegedly sitting next to her, watching her suffer, comforting her when she cried, and continuing to do it. According to Colleen's account, the truth came out on Christmas Day 2024. She claims that Ulmen finally confessed to being the source of the digital abuse she had been fighting for over a decade. And the thing he allegedly said to her during that confession is the sentence that has haunted everyone who has read this story. She says he told her it turned him on to humiliate her. Now, Ulmen's legal team has responded to these allegations, and their position is categorical denial. His lawyer, Christian Ulmen, one of the most prominent media attorneys in Germany, released a statement saying, "Our client has at no time produced and/or distributed deepfake videos of Ms. Fernandes or other persons." His legal team has called the reporting unlawful and based on untrue facts from a one-sided account, and they have threatened legal action against Der Spiegel. So there are two completely different versions of reality here. She says he confessed on Christmas Day. He says none of it happened. The couple announced their separation in September 2025. Their divorce was finalized in March 2026. The same month, the Der Spiegel expose was published. And Colleen filed her legal complaint not in Germany, but in Spain, because the couple had moved to Mallorca in 2023. And that detail is significant because Spanish law is considerably stricter regarding gender-based and digital violence than German law. Legal experts have noted that Colleen may have filed in Spain specifically because the legal protections and penalties are more robust. The public reaction has been massive, both in Germany and internationally. People are drawing direct comparisons to the Giselle Pellicot case in France, where a husband was convicted of drugging his wife and inviting strangers to assault her over a period of years. One person wrote, "The fact that she made a documentary about her own stalker while her stalker sat next to her on the couch is chilling." Another person said, "If the guy who made Jerks actually did this, the show is not satire anymore. It is a confession." Someone else wrote, "This is not just a fetish, it is virtual assault. We need to stop calling it digital as if it does not hurt as much as physical." And one comment that a lot of people have been sharing says simply, "Colleen's strength is incredible. She did not just survive, she is changing German law." And that last comment is not an exaggeration, because in April 2026, in direct response to the Ulmen Fernandes case and the broader conversation it has ignited about digital violence, German Federal Minister of Justice Stephanie Hubig proposed a new law that would make deepfake pornography punishable by up to 2 years in prison. Before this case, Germany had limited legal tools to deal with AI-generated intimate imagery. The Fernandes case is literally reshaping the legal landscape. And then there is the Jerks question that nobody can stop asking, because Ulmen's show is built around a character who is constantly pushing boundaries, violating social norms, and getting into situations that are designed to make the audience uncomfortable. The comedy works because the audience believes it is exaggeration. It is satire. It is a heightened version of reality played for laughs. But now critics and audiences are going back and rewatching episodes with entirely different eyes. They are asking whether the show was a mask, whether the boundary violations on screen were a sanitized version of what was happening off-screen, whether the audience was laughing at a character while the real person behind it was doing something far worse in the dark. The psychological dimension of this case is what separates it from other celebrity scandals. Domestic violence experts have described what Ulmen allegedly did as a textbook case of coercive control executed through digital means. For years, he allegedly maintained a position of trust and intimacy with Colleen while simultaneously being the source of her deepest distress. He watched her fight an invisible enemy. He watched her cry. He watched her spend money on lawyers. And according to her account, he kept doing it. Psychologists are calling this identity theft at the deepest level, the total hijacking of someone's image, voice, and digital presence by the person who is supposed to protect them. The technical sophistication required to maintain 30 separate fake profiles over 15 years without detection is also raising questions. Experts suggest that Ulmen would have needed to use VPNs and multiple devices to avoid IP detection within the same household. He would have needed to manage separate email accounts, separate social media logins, and separate communication channels, all while living under the same roof as his victim. The level of planning and sustained deception required is what makes this case so deeply disturbing to people. And the international media has now picked this up far beyond Germany. The Guardian ran a major piece on March 30th, 2026. CBC News in Canada covered it on April 4th. Reuters distributed the story globally on March 26th, and the reason it is resonating so far beyond Germany's borders is because this is not a uniquely German problem. AI-generated intimate imagery is exploding worldwide. Deepfake pornography has increased over 900% since 2019, and the tools to create it are becoming cheaper and more accessible every single month. What Ulmen allegedly did with significant technical effort 15 years ago can now be done by almost anyone with a smartphone app in under 5 minutes. And that is what makes this case not just a celebrity scandal, but a warning about what is coming for everyone. Colleen herself seems to understand that her case is bigger than her own marriage. In a statement to CBC News in April 2026, she said, "I think this case illustrates quite well the extreme extent to which digital violence can escalate. Digital violence is real violence. It can destroy lives. And she has been vocal about using her platform to push for the legal reforms that are now being debated in the German parliament. She is not hiding. She is not staying quiet. She is using the worst thing that ever happened to her to make sure it is harder for it to happen to someone else. And whatever you think about the details of this case, that takes a kind of courage that most people never have to find. And here's the question that everyone keeps coming back to. How did Colleen not discover it for 15 years? And the answer, according to domestic violence researchers, is gaslighting. When the person you trust the most in the world is the one telling you they will help you find who is doing this to you, when they are sitting beside you at the lawyer's office, when they are holding you while you cry about content you never consented to, you do not suspect them. You cannot. Because suspecting them would mean that everything you believed about your life, your marriage, and your safety was a lie. And the human brain resists that conclusion for as long as it possibly can. So, I want to know what you think. Do you believe Colleen's account? Or do you think there is more to this story that we are not seeing yet? And does this case change how you think about digital violence and the people who might be committing it from inside your own home? Because this is not a story about a stranger on the internet. This is a story about what can happen when the person closest to you is the one holding the knife. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I will catch you all in the next one.